All right. Hopefully, in some previous math class, you learned that the absolute value is the value of a number without regard to its sign, or the distance a number is from zero on a number line in either direction, and that the symbol, those vertical lines on either side of x, is used to indicate the absolute value of any number x. Please remember, before you do the absolute value, you have to do any operations that are inside the absolute value sign. So it's a lot like parentheses, right? You do what's in the parentheses first, and then you do the things that are outside. So it's the same as other order of operations. So let's take a look at this. If we've got negative 20 minus 5.3, well, that's going to be the absolute value of, if we're at negative 20 and we move to the left of the 5.3, that's going to be negative 25.3. And then, once you have a single number, you apply the absolute value, and this becomes positive 25.3. For this next one, we got 45 minus 7.7. Just as a reminder, when you're subtracting, you want to line up the decimal. And the typical way to do this is, well, the 0 is smaller than the 7, so I need to borrow, but the 5 is smaller than the 7, so I need to move all the way over here to borrow from the 4. I'll make that 15, borrow one from that, make it 14. Bring that over, and then this would be 3, 7, 3. So it's the absolute value of 37.3, which is just 37.3. Did you know that you can actually do that whole process without borrowing at all? Have you guys ever seen that? You don't have to do this, but I think you guys are smart enough to handle this. All right, so if you've got 45.0 minus 7.7. And again, this is not a requirement. I just have always thought it was interesting. So you've got 40 minus, there's nothing in the tens place, right? So that's 40. And we're going to talk more about this in a little bit, but I think some of you already know this. If I take 5 and subtract 7, what do I get? You get negative 2. And if I have 0 and I subtract 0.7 from it, I get negative 0.7. 40 minus 2 is what? 38. 38 minus 0.7 is 37.3. As long as you understand negative numbers, which is what we're going to spend some time on today, that's one of the reasons to understand negative numbers. The other nice thing about this is, at first it feels a little weird, but you can do this in your head way easier than you can do all the borrowing stuff. And the borrowing's great. I'm not saying don't ever do borrowing again. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, if you want to learn to do this mentally at some point, doing it this way is the way to go, not trying to keep track of what you've borrowed from what. All right. That said, Picked up the wrong pen. I was like, why is this not working? So here, if I have 8 minus 81, well, that's going to be negative 73. And we'll talk more about that in just a moment, but I do the absolute value, so I'm going to have the opposite of positive 73, so it's negative 73. And really the way to read this when it has a negative sign out in front is the opposite of. Because did my answer, in this case it turned out to be negative, but it's not always going to be. So it's the opposite of the absolute value. Okay? So here, I'm going to have the opposite of 0 minus 3 is negative 3. What's the absolute value of negative 3? 3. So this is negative 3. All right. So let's move on. So Sally lives in North Dakota, where it gets really, really, really cold. One day, hello.
This is my sister, Mr. Davis.
Hi.
I'm trying to bring my brother over.
It's nice to meet you. I'm Cecil Davis. Nice to meet you. So, very nice, very nice. So is he a troublemaker?
No, not at all. He's very shy, very academic wise.
Okay. Very cool. Is he in geometry, do you know, or?
I don't remember his geometry or algebra.
Okay. It's fine. We'll take care of him no
Yes,
matter
we
what.
will.
And we'll be happy to have him. Thank you. It's nice to meet you guys. All right, so one day the thermometer read 10 degrees below zero, but then it rapidly rose 15 degrees in an hour as a warm front moved in. Then it dropped 15 degrees as night fell. What's the resulting temperature? What is it? Yes.
-10.
Yeah, it's negative 10. It started off at negative 10. It went up 15 and then back 15. We want to draw a picture of this? Okay. So if we're at negative 10 to start with, and we go up 15 degrees, where did it go to? 5 degrees. And then it turned around and retreated, went right back. So, what happens when Cecil the tightrope walker goes forward 5 feet and then goes back 5 feet? Where does he end up? Where he started. Yeah, exactly. So Chad decided to record Cecil's moves with the diagram at right. Explain what you think his drawing means. Yes, ma'am.
He went from negative to he went from adding steps and then going back steps.
Okay, so the 5 pluses means he went forward 5 feet. So the 5 pluses means he went forward 5 feet, and the 5 minuses means he went backwards 5 feet. So, using that same strategy, Chad recorded a different set of instructions for Cecil with the diagram shown at the right. What does this diagram represent? Well, how far did he go forward? How much? 9 feet? Plus, how far did he go backwards? 3 feet. For a result of, same thing as going forward, 6 feet. All right, let's move on. All right, in just a second, I'm going to give each of you a bag of plus minus tiles. Here's what I want you to do. Reach into the bag and pull out some of them, not all of them, there's just some of them. It doesn't have to be a ton. Put them on your desk. Write down what you got on your paper. Write, this many pluses, this many minuses. Then find the value of your pile. If you took a bigger handful of tiles, do you think you'd have a better chance of getting a higher value? Why or why not? All right, so let me give those to everybody. Please try to keep these on your desk. Although with these are actually ceramic tile spacers that I cut pieces off of to make the minuses. So reach in, grab some, draw it on your paper. Find the result. Didn't realize I had this many in there. You gonna grab a few more? So have you drawn it yet? You can't draw it if you turned around. Okay, so draw the 4 pluses on your paper.
Right here?
That'd be great.
Like this?
Some places where you have, well, not down there, because, how about up here? Oh, you don't have to draw the whole, just draw a plus sign.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't have to make it, just like they did up here on the screen. I'm sorry?
What is times value?
Well, so like on this one, the value was 6. After it was all said and done, it was a positive 6. So, let's look. Nyla, what did yours look like?
Four pluses and 4 minuses.
Yeah, yours is kind of like mine. When I reached in, I got 5 pluses and 5 minuses. So, what is the value of the expression going to be? 0. All right, you have the same number of pluses as you have minuses. All right, so we're going to do these ones at the bottom. We're going to build each expression with plus and minus tiles. It should only take you a few seconds, and I think that you have enough in your bag. So like this one, they've showed what it looks like. There were 8 negatives and 2 positives. And then they've circled these which zero each other out. So you're left with 6 negatives. So you're left with negative 6. Negative 8 plus 2 gives you negative 6. All right. Please go ahead and start building, drawing, and solving these.
Did you just put a bunch of negatives for the next one?
I'm sorry?
For the next one, would you just put
Yeah, I just have a whole bunch of negatives. You can draw it like that. It's just that nothing's going to zero out, is it? All right, let's see how you're doing on these. So we've done A. For B, we have 5 negatives, and then another 3. So this is, what's the value? Everybody.
-8.
-8. Here I have 2 positives and 4 negatives. These are going to zero out, and I'm left with
2. -2.
2 negatives, so that's -2. Here I have 7 negatives, and then another 7 negatives. Were there enough in your bag to do that?
No.
But this is -14. For the next one, we have 4 negatives, followed by 3 positives. That's a 0, that's a 0, that's a 0. We've got 1 negative. Have you noticed that when they're both negative, we get a bigger number, and when one's positive and one's negative, we get a smaller number?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're just real different.
Pardon?
They're just different.
They're just different? All right, so this one, we have 4 negatives, followed by 8 positives. Followed by 2 negatives. I'm going to put the 2 negatives here. So that's a 0, 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 and that's a 0. So the value is 2. Here we've got 3 negatives, followed by 5 positives. Followed by another 3 positives. So these add out to 0 and leave us with a value of 5. And then here, they're all just going to add out, right? We get a value of 0. All right, any questions about that? All right, if you would please, put your tiles back in the bag, and I'll come around and pick those up.